some of us may not like what is happening during 100 days, and there is the opening to say something.
Right. Well, that's the point. I mean, if you're doing a report card, you talk about the positives and the negatives, and it's all
According
relative.
to you or
And
me.
depending on where you're from, especially the negatives, if you're from the other
Yeah.
side.
My opinion is Bob wants, and I might be wrong,
Yeah.
Bob wants to do this because he wants to have an opportunity to dump on Trump.
Not as much as I do.
What's that?
No, he doesn't want to dump on Trump as much as I do.
Well,
I believe he is the worst president of all time. He is the
Well,
worst.
again, you can have that. You can have that
That's
opinion.
my opinion.
Yeah, that's
look
it.
at
That's right. But I don't think you can. I would love to be able to see how you could justify that, particularly when you say the worst of all.
Oh, well, give me a chance to justify. Tariffs. He put tariffs on, and eventually that's going to raise the price of everything we buy that has anything to do with it. Inflation is going to increase because of it. As a matter of fact, one of the other things is the tariffs should be tax deductible. It's money that goes to the government, but it raises our prices, so it's a tax on us. And
So
those
I don't want to
tariffs
interrupt
have
you,
to be
Paul, but
those tariffs have to be calculated by every company that pays them, and so people can deduct them from their taxes. Trump
based on
says
that
no.
that one example you're using, that's the most important reason you have to say he's the worst president ever. That's what you're saying?
No, I don't think that particular one is the first thing that came to mind.
That's the first thing that came to his mind.
Well, it is.
Are we online or no?
I don't know.
He put tariffs on, and then the other countries responded, and so he put more tariffs on, and they responded again, and he put more tariffs on. He's the biggest moron president we've ever had.
Now you know he signed it. Apparently, there's a deal signed with England, the United Kingdom today.
Yes. There was nobody has all the details. They haven't even worked all the details out, but he did sign
I agree,
something.
but supposedly it looks like there's a deal done.
Right.
If they haven't signed, if they don't have the details, they don't have an agreement.
Speaking of tariffs, I have to enter because you
Yes.
hit upon. Can you see
Oh,
that?
there's a whole list.
No, I can't read that from here.
How Trump's tariff strategy is reclaiming U.S. industry from China. What more could you ask for?
He's deporting all the people that are going to work on all these things that the Chinese are building.
He's not deporting everyone.
Actually, he's not.
He's trying to
deporting
deport.
the people. A very fun thing I was reading about yesterday. Trump's ICE guys went into local restaurants run by liberals, by the way, in Washington, D.C., and interrogated all the wait staff. According to Trump, what he wants to do is he wants to get rid of all the murderers and the rapists and criminals, violent criminals that have been invading our country for the past 200 years.
The good criminals he's going to keep.
Well, yeah, what the hell? And where is he going to find them? He found one guy and deported him who was in
Oh,
a
yes, I
class
read about
taking his citizenship test.
Yeah.
And he deported him. He's not going after, because it's too damn difficult, all of the people that he's been railing against for, 10 years? He's keeping his numbers up. I deported X number of people, but he deported the people who are actually making a contribution to the society.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them may very well be doing that, but it's very limited amount of. I
Are
can't.
we online or no?
I'm sorry.
Are
didn't
we
hear.
online?
Yes. Oh, we've been online for a while.
Yes.
ICE is coming.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Oman.
Yeah, thank you. What I was going to say is that the way what I would say is when you look at first 100 days, you got to look at first is the southern border better off than what it was 100 days before? So
America, you mean?
how about that? So is that better? Southern border better
I'm not
better than what it was
No,
100 days before?
are more
The
people
border's
coming
about
across the border now
99%
than-
better than it
or
was
less
before.
than
No,
before?
my belief, I can't point to anything. My belief is that there are more people coming legally, the way they should be coming, not the way they have been coming under the Democrats.
By the way, 6 months before the end of Biden's term,
He answers.
yeah, 6 months before the end of Biden's term, he implemented by executive
Yeah.
directive rather than going through Congress because Congress refused to act on it. He implemented a great many of the things that Trump took credit as doing. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It was a complete turnaround.
Well, but
he
the
saw
point,
he saw what was coming.
but he was trying from the beginning to come up with a legal framework for
bullshit.
immigration. And
I don't believe that's true,
Congress-
Bob. You can talk about that yourself. I don't believe
Yeah,
that's true.
I agree with you, Chuck.
He wanted to bring as many people into this country so they could be voting the Democratic way.
Actually, the
Democrats.
people coming into this country
Can't
over the
vote.
past 10 years couldn't vote, haven't been able to vote. There are
People
more
have been
people.
voting right along, maybe
They're not,
not
they're not
a lot.
citizens. They're not
People have
citizens.
been illegally voting. The Democrats
That's
don't
naive.
but-
want IDs.
You're naive.
No,
Meadow,
no, no.
the chief of
it's-
staff under Trump in his first administration voted in multiple states. So there's an illegal vote. Meadow is not an undocumented immigrant. But I think we're getting carried away with this whole immigration and tariff thing.
What do you expect? You wouldn't get carried away with this?
You know what? You know what? If I can pose a question, don't we have when relatives of mine came from Italy, they had to go through a process that was quite legal. They expressed the fact that they wanted to become citizens, and they had to go through a learning process, and they had to have a sponsor. I can remember going to New York and waiting for the boat to pull up so these people, but they did it legally. I don't understand what has happened to that necessary legality.
They
Everyone wants to run across the border and be part of America. I don't even want to be concerned with the number of criminals that have come across.
100 years ago, my grandparents came here, and they came legally. You know
How,
legally
what do you mean
was?
by legally?
They followed the rules at the time.
Okay,
The
they had
rules
to
of-
go through the agents, what is the
They
agency?
the,
Ellis Island, for
Ellis
the most
Island,
part.
Yeah, Ellis Island,
or
thank you, yes.
Boston had their own, etc.
Yes.
They came according to the laws at the time. In the 1920s, the Congress decided we didn't want anybody from anywhere else other than Northern Europe, so they changed the laws to make it near impossible for them to come. People came anyway, but near impossible. But the laws that we call all the people who come across the southern border illegal, actually, according to the law passed by Congress, if you come across the border, however you make it, and find somebody and say, I want amnesty, not amnesty, I'm concerned for my life.
You want to have a
and say-
sponsor.
No, you don't need a sponsor. You just go
Okay.
to somebody and say,
Okay.
I'm here, I fear for my life, my safety, whatever. The person you turn yourself into gives you a court date and says, get here at this date and a judge will hear you.
Eh?
That person at that point is legal. Undocumented. According to U.S. law.
When?
What do you mean when?
Current law?
Current law.
Yeah, that is
I'm not
current
sure
law.
about that.
Current
Current
law is
law.
that.
Yeah.
But that is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is that is where Congress comes in. They should make a comprehensive change in the existing laws that allow the asylum seekers without any vetting, and make sure those changes are commensurate with the needs of the U.S. Population, needs of the U.S. government, and
Don't we-
needs what we need here.
Do we not have a formal part of the U.S. government that is set up for people who want to become foreigners, who want to become citizens? Okay? I mean, if we have that,
Yes.
and it was set up by American law, and that's what I recall, and I can testify to many people that I know who came that way. Now, if you just cross the border, you know, whether you're good or bad, and you just cross the border, you still have the right to be here, even if they.
According to U.S. law, yes.
I don't believe
I
it.
mean, no,
I
that
do
is
not
what-
agree
that
with
is
it,
the
and I
law,
don't believe
actually.
it.
Well,
I
agree with
think
it
there
is a
should be a
different story.
formal agency. You apply, and they check on you, and you go to. How many people have you seen on television recently? The number of people, not recently, well, yeah, recently, the number of people who have studied American democracy and have graduated, and there's a whole bunch of them, and mostly out of New York. I remember very well all of them holding the American flag. They graduated. They went through the process. They did not just run across the border. I don't understand that. It is not legal. They
That
should
is
not
why-
do that, and they should not
that
be
is what-
accepted.
Do you
That-
remember the
One of the
1950s, the
one of the
Cuban
people- wait a minute.
refugees who came
Wait
by
a minute,
boat?
one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, at least one of the people that did that is in graduate school. They went to Tufts and took a.
But that has nothing to do with when he first applied. Did he do it legally? When he goes to graduate school after he's been accepted, that's wonderful. He's a good citizen. How many are not? How many shoot?
But-
How many hurt people, Americans?
But
in particular?
she is going to be deported. She's in graduate school, not
Well, I don't know what her
not
particular
colleges.
case is.
Tufts.
Yeah, she's in jail
My
right
college.
now.
She's in jail. She made the mistake, and by the way, understand something. I am Jewish. I'm a Zionist, have been my whole life. She made the mistake of being angry at Israel and saying so publicly.
This is today. Today's.
No,
uh,
no. This happened a
a
month
few weeks ago.
Yeah. But again, the law says, so when you say anybody who came across the southern border or northern border or came in through a container ship to the in California, all these people are illegal and you can do whatever you want with them. Couple of interesting things. Number one, the U.S. Constitution says all people in the United States have a right to due process. All people. Now, admittedly, people coming across the border can't be considered Homo sapiens, but for the lack of anything better, let's pretend that they are. All people. So if you're talking about the law, the law says.
Okay, see, you're pointing to
But
a quirk in the law. What you
Wait
should
a
be
minute. Why is
advocating
it a
is
quirk?
get that damn law changed.
Okay, get it changed. When the Democrats for 20 years have been proposing various changes and the Republicans have objected
Of course.
and stopped it.
This
And
folder
stopped it.
here I have, Bob,
Yeah.
is notes from when we talked many months ago about this whole issue.
Okay.
And took all the notes from that, and I thought we had settled that back then. I'm not ready to go through that at this point in time on this type of forum. I'm
Okay.
done with this conversation because I think it's going nowhere. We've already spent over 15 minutes talking about this.
Can
I choose that we should go to a different topic.
Okay, again on the 100 days. One of the things that Trump has done, and it was done deliberately, was he angered our allies. He came after our allies in a variety of different ways. And one of the key things that is hurting the U.S. economy, and in the future could be even worse, is he's going after our next door neighbors, Canada in particular. And that was a deliberate attack, which I don't exactly understand what he's trying to accomplish.
Then I don't think you should be talking about it if you don't have an idea what he's trying to accomplish.
Well, I
Can
can
you
tell
s-
you what he's act, what is being,
But your
what is
opinion
happening.
of it is, you can give that.
I
but that's
don't
all.
know what-
Can I
yeah.
can I just read this
Right.
to you?
Sure.
How Trump's tariff strategy is reclaiming U.S. industry from China. This is a big
Baloney.
New York paper.
That's-
New York.
That's baloney.
Oh,
New York.
the
baloney.
New York Post is not exactly liberal,
No,
so
this
just
is-
because
this
it's
is
in
not
New
the
York.
Post.
Yeah, I understand. But can I suggest that the industry that he's reclaiming or trying to reclaim is not an industry that we necessarily want? Do we really want to sew polo shirts? Is that what we want to bring back?
Oh God.
He-
Well,
One of the
at
things
this-
he's doing is he's deporting all the people that would work for those companies.
Well, let's
They're
just
low
get away
income.
from the deporting,
Yeah, let's
etc. and
let's wait and
because
see.
there's
Let's
so
wait
many
and see
other
how the
things.
industries collapse.
Yeah.
Because he deported what 200,000 people, not 200,000, however many. How many people has he deported?
Well,
Do you know the number?
I think somewhere around 10,000.
10,000.
Sure.
The whole country's gonna fall apart.
Well,
For the companies to come back, the industries to come back, it is not going to it is not going to begin to show any effect within a month or two.
You know-
it's going to take a long time.
You know-
It's going to take a long time, and you have to, given that whatever he is doing, you have to give that time to see what effect there actually will be. But by presupposing that we don't know actually which industries will actually be able to come back, because the other piece to that is the investors who are really the people with the big money. How are they looking at it? My looking at it has no meaning. It is big money people who have to look at it and invest accordingly. And that is going to be something I have no idea about. But at the same time, given time, I don't know which industries will be able to come back. Given the innovation, there may not be enough need for all the people to go into that industry. That will be the counter problem for that. And I hope they deal with that as well, because as the things get innovated, things change, things become automated, maybe there will be no need of all the people. We will all be running around on the streets. But that's a different problem.
well, I can tell you, just to support what you were saying, 30 years ago, I was involved in the automation of a cereal factory in London, Ontario. The important part of the whole thing was, within a year, the factory went from several hundred full-time employees to about 20. And I
Wow.
guarantee when that cereal factory or something similar is brought to the United States, it isn't going to be 300 or 400 employees making a decent wage. It's going to be 20 or so, some of which are maintenance people, until such time as we build robots to handle that.
Hypothetical question. These people who are in the process of being thrown out of the country, okay, for most of them out from Central America, South America, Central America, do they not still have the right to apply legally if they are if their intent is so strong that they want to be in America? Can they, if they're not criminals, can they not apply and enter the country legally?
Pat,
Is there
My
any
understand-
reason?
my
May I
understanding
suggest
is-
you think about one thing,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to shut up for at least 2 minutes.
Okay.
And that is that if in fact they had fear for their lives or their safety or their families, if they're sent back and they're killed,
Oh, wait a
then
minute.
they
Yeah,
can't
they're killed,
reapply.
that's the end of it.
understood, but that's supposedly, not necessarily, but supposedly the reason they were coming the way they did.
I don't think you can suppose that.
There's a number
You
of
don't
those,
know.
but that's not the biggest issue.
Pardon me?
That's-
Well,
That's though there are situations like that, but that's not the majority of people. Anyways, I would like to
Right,
go
I-
on to
I-
a different topic.
right, okay,
All of you are from Burlington.
yes.
I've heard this story before, and I have a newspaper that I subscribe to once a month And the story is that the fight isn't over. Burlington Child Sex Survey controversy grows. Do any of you have an opinion on what's
Say that
going on
again,
there?
Burling. Read that again.
The article says the fight is not over. Burlington Child Sex Survey controversy grows.
Okay.
I've seen this on. I've seen part of this on TV on the news, as
I've
well
been
as seeing it in some other
This
papers. in the last
issue was
few
on
days.
TV.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
a
on
national-
TV.
What
It's
is it?
on
Can
the
you explain?
Boston station.
They're asking
What happened?
grammar school kids if they've had any sexual.
The various kinds of sexual things. They're trying to get an understanding. It is not the first year that this was done. It had been done at least one last year, if not
Hey, I
before
haven't
that.
heard anything
So
about
it existed for a while. The difference was that I know for sure was that in the past there was an option for the parents to opt out. That their kids would not have
What
to fill-
exactly do they do?
They're asked a series of questions. Have you
Every
ever
kid.
every kid in the middle school
Okay.
and maybe earlier, that I'm not sure of.
And according to the way they respond,
No, they're just doing a
That's it.
survey and they're getting numbers and they're taking the consolidated list of the responses to make decisions as to various things that they're trying to accomplish. If it turns
Many
out, yeah.
Many parents are saying that their children are not being they were told they would have an option to opt out, but then that's not happening.
Well, they did not get allowed. The option did not occur this year. It had in previous years. I have never seen the survey. All I know is people
never heard
who
of it.
either have been in the school committee at meetings
Are
and
you
heard
aware of
about
that?
it, or
It's outrageous.
yeah.
Do you believe that's the responsibility of the school system to do that?
No.
To conduct this survey?
If
Absolutely
they're
not.
trying to protect the kids, yeah, maybe. I really don't know.
Okay, that's
I'm
a
not
fair answer.
personally.
Well,
yeah, who put the,
I am
who
not
put
see,
the
I'm
survey
not
together?
seeing the question, so I
There was
can't
a
answer
country-
that.
a
Actually.
company that put it together. The school committee did
On the,
not
on
read
the at the request of the school?
it had been done
Where
before.
did this come from?
The survey, I assume, came out of the school committee. I don't know that for
school
sure.
committee.
I believe so.
The-
And
Did? Yep.
I think the school committee approved it, as opposed.
well, they never.
as
they
opposed,
claim
as
they
opposed
never,
to the
looked at
company
it.
put together.
There was a new company. The previous company got bought or something, and a new company put it together. These are the bits and pieces that I know. And I'm not 100% sure I necessarily disagree with the goal.
Chuck,
But let me-
Chuck, what do
I
you
got-
understand about it?
Well, I'm just going to read this first paragraph. It says, last month, we reported that Burlington Public Schools gave a sexually explicit survey to middle and high school students, including some as young as the sixth grade. Even more troubling, several students whose parents had explicitly opted out still were forced to take it. The survey includes graphic content asking questions such as, what is your sexual orientation?
Christ's sake,
What
that
is
is
your current gender
ridiculous.
identity? Have you ever had sexual intercourse? Those are the three
That's
listed
horrible,
questions.
horrible,
For-
horrible. They have no right to do that. Whoever condoned or whoever come up with that idea should be thrown out. There's no need for something like that. How
but this-
personal can you get? And what the hell do you do with the information? What do you do? Restrict kids and say because your parents voted for it, you're out? I mean, what good is it?
I don't know that there
What
was
kind
any.
what kind of activity can you take to dispel whatever, even if it's at its worst?
Well, number one, I don't think that they're personally identifiable. I don't know that, but I don't think it is.
What do you mean personally?
In other words, you don't sign your name saying, "Yeah, I had anal sex. I saw somebody in the bathroom, and I thought, hey, that
even
looks
then,
good."
even if it's impersonal.
Well, no.
It
Is
has
it
to be.
important
It has
that
to
we-
What is
be
the
anonymous.
intent?
Is it important that we understand what's going on in the country, or do we always base this on what somebody said on the internet.
Yeah, isn't it, yes, that's part of it. The other part of it, don't we just assume and go to an extreme, taking a survey with, I taught high school, I
Yeah,
taught this high
okay.
school.
One-
I can't believe maybe, I don't know, maybe
one-
I'm completely out of it. I can't
one
see
thi-
that the kids
one-
are like
one-
that.
One thing I was going to say is that I have not seen the actual questions. And when the reporters write, they have to write it in a way that you buy the copy. Now, the key point is, if we have not, I have not read the questions. I don't know who the audience was. Was it actually given sixth graders was given one survey, seventh graders were given another survey, high school students was given another survey? I don't know. So we have to, unless we know all those details, I think it's very difficult to comment on. And then also we have to figure out what was the motive behind it. Was it sex education?
Yes.
Was it to create a
That's my
plan
question.
for sex education?
Yeah.
Or something? Because you do
Yeah.
need that in the community
Yeah, and
to
do we
prevent
need
certain things.
sex education at the high school?
Well,
I don't know
if
about
you
you.
do not-
When I was
well,
in high
that's-
school, there were children being born.
Of course there were children
Okay.
being born. That's
Among
a
the high
stupid
school
statement.
population, there were children being born. So
You
yes,
mean that the children that in the high school that participated in it? I don't know what you mean by that, being born.
in
children-
I graduated high school in '61. There were
Girls in high school were
they were-
having children.
Yes.
That's what he's saying.
They what? Say it again.
Girls in high school were having
Having
children.
girls in high school.
Yep.
Girls in high school, I would bet, forget about the world, but I would bet in probably more than a few communities in America still have children.
yes.
Yeah. I don't
Yes.
think,
Now-
are they, is raising the issue, is that going to,
Maybe it was
is
some
it
education.
going to help?
May-
I don't think so.
Well, I think when I was in high school, boys played volleyball and girls were given health education.
Right.
And I think the world would have been better off if both had gotten
Yes.
health education.
I agree.
So maybe I don't know. Maybe the point of this was to find out whether, in fact, both boys and girls should, in fact, be given sex education, so they know what the hell they're doing. They may choose to do
they should,
what we
actually.
don't want them to do, but at least they understand.
There isn't a kid today at the high school level who doesn't know anything. They know more than you about
Well,
sex.
doesn't that now? See,
doesn't
you're
no, I
answering
don't
your
agree
own
with it.
question. You are answering your own question. Doesn't that mean you should start educating in middle school, so that they don't start getting pregnant and producing babies and doing drugs and doing unsafe sex? Don't you want that?
But isn't that more the responsibility of the parent, not the school?
Unfortunately, I will ask you this. Unfortunately, that kind of communication between a parent and child is not that easily possible. That's my blanket statement.
I mean, we're all parents here.
Yes.
All five of us are parents. It would be not on TV, but it would be interesting to have a conversation about what you did and when you did it with your children.
Okay.
Very tough, very tough.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I think probably the most critical part of that is to have a discussion about sex with your children when they're before they start school or just about the time they start school. And I think my guess is that most families don't. I did
Yes.
not do as good a job at it as I should have. I
You
can
cannot,
admit that, but I
as a-
think that might be part of the answer. You know, in the I know a little bit about the European way of life. They do talk to their children about sex before they go to school. When they get to be, you know, I guess 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, they do talk to them. Not obviously, I can't vouch for everyone, but that is a general conversation. I think it's a good idea. What's wrong with it?
Yeah, exactly. Now you're answering the question.
Right.
That's good. But the
What's
question
wrong
is,
with
how
it?
is it
When
done?
if you take your son or your daughter or one of each or both of them, and you sit them down and they're 11 years old, 12 years old, God forbid they're 13 years old, and you go over the whole scene with them, I can't see anything wrong with that.
By the
Well,
way,
that is because,
The article's talking about kids as young as 7 or 8 years old.
So in
That-
other
that's
words,
why-
you know what we're getting at here is the parents are negligible. The parents are negligent. They are the ones that are not doing what they should. They're in, you know, something. Now you're getting into current society, and I can list 1,000 things with regard to current, and that's one of them.
okay, I think
why don't
that
we
parents
jump-
should
why
be
don't
the
we jump
ones
to
to
another
teach
one?
algebra.
No.
Yes,
that's
yes,
ridiculous.
yes, yes,
no,
yes.
No. Now you're going out of your way to look for. No, you know a parent's not going to teach algebra.
But the problem is-
life. Teach about
you
life,
always
not
like to
algebra.
throw
Who the
those
hell
things in
cares
there.
about algebra? I would say, according to your formula, they should be teaching them French. No, that makes no
If
sense
I were
at all.
capable of teaching French,
No,
probably
you
I.
teach them about life. You take them now, 12 years old, 13 years old, whenever, and you take them aside, not aside, you sit them down in the kitchen, and you have a discussion, and you do it in a nice, civil way. And then you tell them about the consequences of not paying attention.
no, you know, this is good what you are saying, but just think back for a second. I'm going to take you back to a teenager in your house or beginning to become a teenager. Do they really listen to you, what you're saying?
Do they do what? Well, that's another story. That's a different
Yes.
issue.
That is why-
No. You've given them fair warning. You've given them the information they need. They have to believe in you. And it's not just that, it's the way you raise them in the first place. And if,
Yes.
yeah, so
That is the silent
it's
treatment.
concomitant with the raising. Okay, so, you know, if they're going to go out and ignore you completely, you have done something wrong as a parent.
I think you have to recognize the psychology of a preteen teenager versus a person who is the parent who is in their 30s. That doesn't meld in communication. So the communication level has to be that so that the preteen person can understand and follow, while as the parent is seen in a different level. So that's why school does have a responsibility in educating. But the question is this survey designed differently for a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, 16-year-old, so that you get different answers, different questions at different levels of their maturity.
Do you,
Can't answer the same question across the board.
do you all get the Burlington paper?
There is no Burlington paper.
Is it? There is no Burlington
No.
paper?
No,
It hasn't
Okay.
been for many years.
no. That's why they're having sex.
I knew there was a reason.
Jumping off of
They're
that. how
not
about-
keeping abreast of what's going on in town.
Jump off of that, but
rephrase
in a role of boys playing in girls' sports.
Oh, please.
So, do you
That's
favor?
it's a
I
Chuck.
think I've had
Chuck,
conversation with
it's
Bob
a
before.
democratic idea.
What's that?
The Democrats have fostered that.
Well, Bob, I had a conversation with Bob before, and he seemed to be okay with that.
No, I'm not.
The problem of the girls having boys come in and dominate their sports is basically the boys are bigger, and there's a
Yes.
and
Bigger
by the
and
way,
stronger.
when I was in high school, I couldn't compete with a lot of the boys because they were bigger than I was. So the way
Oh,
that
that's
high
the
school
thing.
dealt with it was they put size limits. I was competing with people who were 90 pounds like me rather than people who were 170 pounds like some of the
me.
starters on the basketball team. And that solves the whole problem.
But 90 pounds, that's like about a sixth grader.
Well,
I could, so
I am heavier today than I have been my whole life, and I am not all that heavy.
So I mean, a young child, a young girl, young boy I don't see a problem with them playing sports together. Once they
Right.
get to be at a teenage level, I think it becomes a real issue.
Why? Because of
wait,
size
And then you
or
also
because
have
of
the
sex?
issue with him as far as him going in the locker rooms. Go ahead, Paul.
Time out. I think what they're talking about is organized sports, team sports, boys playing on girls' team sports.
Right.
There's you know.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to playing in the schoolyard, is I think what
In the
he's
school-
Well,
getting
yeah,
at.
I don't see a problem in the schoolyard either.
Well, that the whole conversation has been about schoolyard up to now. What we're really talking about is team sports, high school team sports, and you know, big boys play with big boys, girls play with girls, and the transgender boys want to play on the girls' teams. They don't want to play on the boys' teams.
They're not
Why
allowed
do
to.
they want to do that?
Because they want to compete.
They want to compete. Now,
Well,
And by the way, they
I'm not
think of
happy with
themselves
that
as
either.
female.
I'm not happy with that either.
Well, I agree with you on that.
But well, one thing fundamental here is you have to recognize there is a difference, upper body strength versus lower body strength in the males versus females. So that I don't know how to solve that part, although the person is transgender, but then how much of the upper body strength has diminished not to hurt the females. I don't have a solution to that. I'm just putting out a fact.
I'm waiting for a professional basketball player who is not necessarily very talented, all of a sudden decide he's going to play in the women's league and see how well that goes over. I can't.
Well, he has to do something to his body in order to be on that team.
By the way, the reverse, there are at least a couple of women who are playing college sports on the men's side.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So
What sports?
But-
What sports are those, Bob?
football, the ones
Oh,
that
yeah,
I'm aware of.
They're the kicker.
Yes,
they're the
they
field
are.
goal kicker. So
Yes.
they have no real physical contact with anybody.
So it's the physical contact that you're objecting to, and not the fact
Well,
that
that's
they're.
one of the objections. But I don't want to see them in their dressing rooms changing together or showering together.
What makes you think they would?
Huh?
If a boy, male, without modification, is competing as a part of a team with a woman,
It depends on where you're.
are
going.
they in fact expected to be in the same locker room? I
No,
doubt it very
It
much.
depends on the
well,
particular
you're wrong.
situation. You
Oh,
can't,
Many of them
you
do.
can't generalize.
No, you're talking about transgender.
Well, they claim they're transgender. They don't necessarily have done anything.
Well, that's that fact is not true.
Transgender means it's something has been removed.
Yes, or
Not
added as the
necessarily,
case may
not
be.
necessarily.
Well, okay, I happen to know a
Then-
couple
then
of
they're not
transgender
transgender.
people. There happen to have been women that transitioned to men. Should they be in a woman's bathroom? They have a penis.
Well, that's a different problem.
Well,
But before answering that question, I just want to point out this thing, that the transgender issue has been so much blown up,
Right.
given that it is so minuscule. It's only when it comes to light when somebody is in
Bravo,
a basketball
I
team
agree.
or football. That's all. Otherwise,
Yes.
it is so minuscule
Yes.
that I don't know whether we should be even talking
You know
about
what
that.
it is?
in Maine,
It's a sex topic. Everyone wants to get involved with it.
I mean,
I
as
agree
if-
with that.
Looks
Unfortunately,
like as if there are
Unfortunately,
millions
that's
of
right.
millions of people suddenly going to become transgender tomorrow,
Yeah.
and we have a problem.
just
So
so they
you're
can
talking
play
about-
sports. Maine, there was a debate between Trump and the governor of Maine on TV.
Governor of Maine?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Maine, I'm
Trump
sorry,
was
yes.
going to eliminate all money to the state of Maine for sports or education. I think it was education. And it turned
Well,
out
he-
there was
he-
one transgender female in college level sports. One.
That's still going to the court.
Well, no, they withdrew. It was
they
announced
would-
2 days ago. They dropped the case.
They dropped only the portion that he was withholding food for cafeterias and things. It's something
Okay.
to do with the food.
All right.
Nothing to do with the participation in sports.
Do you
He
think
has
that
no
the-
basis. He has no right to say to Maine, and this was the basis of the case. He has no right to say to Maine, you can't allow this person, or these two people, or these three people, God forbid, to participate in college level sports.
There's
I don't think he
there's
said anything about
there's-
high school, though. By the way,
There's a
That's
ruling on
interesting.
that. I forgot what title number that is. That was ruled on many years ago.
Title IX,
Yeah,
which,
that sounds right.
which gave money to female sports, which, by the
And-
way, had not been given any money up until that point.
I don't know, but I don't
Until
think
what?
that's true.
The point.
I think the
Title IX.
colleges have been getting money for their sports, female sports.
Not
Actually,
That's
actually
relatively
Bob is
recently.
right. It was not until that Title IX was set up. Female sports were not, where they didn't have money.
so.
Grant money.
Which is
I-
immaterial about what transgender and non-transgender. But I think the key point was there was one person in the state of Maine, and they were going to, as Chuck pointed out, they were going to stop giving lunches to all the kids in Maine over one person.
That was including this for the sport. But again, I think he was just trying to make as much noise about it as he could.
I agree, which, by the way, gets to, at some point, going back to the report card.
Chuck, am I reading or you're saying make some noise about the issue?
That's correct.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. I mean, I don't want to suppress it, but I think it's much bigger. You know, for the number of people who are involved currently that we know of here in America in particular, the whole country is in an uproar over it, trying to
The whole
decide
coun-
who is right and which way to go. I think there's a better way to handle it. They have a right to, and they have a right to whatever, schooling, public facilities, whatever it happens to be. But they should find a way to linger with their own kind.
Yeah,
If
nobody's,
they're in the
nobody's-
general public, the public has to pay attention and make special rules for them. And that doesn't make any sense at all.
But the
There's no
point is, there
restriction
The
on
shouldn't
the
be
majority should still rule.
shouldn't be special rules. That's what
But
this
this
whole
is a
argument is
special
about.
case. We don't have homosexuals every day.
Yes, we do.
No, I'm
Yes, we
talking about
do.
no.
So
What I mean by that is it's
Paul
not
is getting
it's
into something
universal,
else now.
but
That's
it's
different
small.
topic.
It's
The
about
numbers are
different
small.
10 to 20% of the population is not small.
How do you know it's 20%?
Well, surveys that we started talking about a little while ago give us an indication.
Yeah.
20% of the
I mean,
population
Ten to
is,
It's either-
is ill-assigned of their sex.
No. You said homosexual. The
Paul, what topic
transgender is
would
a
you like to
separate
talk
thing.
about?
Yeah, huh?
I'm sorry,
think
Paul,
transgender is
topic-
what I meant.
Is
You
there a
gotta bring
topic,
up a-
Paul? Is there a topic you want to talk about, Paul?
No.
No. Anything you want? Nothing?
Okay, let me go back to report
I
cards
was
for a minute.
asking Paul.
Yeah, well, he
I
said
want to
no.
I want to get back to the moron Trump.
Okay, all right.
I mean, you know, anyone who makes these stupid rules just to
What do you mean by stupid?
tariff,
of America.
The tariffs are stupid. He's a stupid individual for making that. For making
So
those
a
rules.
country, whatever country is tariffing us, but we should not tariff them back.
By the way, that the country that is tariffing us, it's probably not the country per se. The commerce is being done by corporations. In many cases, international corporations. They're based all over the world, and they are trading with each other.
Yeah, but they're still obligated to follow whatever rules the White House comes up with.
Only in the United States,
Why-
not what
Well,
they do
yeah,
in
Wait a
well,
minute,
somewhere
wait a
else.
that's
minute.
what we're talking about. The
Time
United,
out.
how should the
Let's-
United
let's-
States respond?
Time
I'm
out.
sorry, go
The,
ahead.
the White House does not make the rules. Congress makes the rules.
Okay.
And
Well, that's what I
and-
meant, yeah.
Well,
But that's
You're
not
right.
what's
but,
happening.
but
You're
that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Trump made all these, what, 160 tariff.
But didn't he have to get Congress?
No.
Just made him on his own.
Yes.
He made him on his own
Executive
illegally.
order.
Illegally.
What a guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's illegal, but
Yes, it is.
you know, you can point it to a law that says that.
Yeah, Congress makes the law on money, and he approves
I
or
haven't-
disapproves.
Yeah. The big,
I
the
haven't
big
heard
question
anybody
is.
complain about that in the press.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
haven't been
haven't
listening.
either.
Yeah, that's
the
because
big-
that's
is
because
it
you listen to
benefiting
Republicans
Americans?
And
gibberish.
that's the key
And
question.
I think it is.
I can guarantee you that today and for the next 6 months to a year, it will not benefit the Americans. A, prices will
can
go
you,
up.
How can you project?
B, there will be a loss of jobs.
No, you
Well,
don't.
we're already seeing the
it's
loss
not.
of
That's
jobs.
all supposition. You don't know that.
How much of a bet do you want to make, Bob?
$20. I will give it to Paul the whole. I want you to mail it to Paul.
All right.
And we'll pick a time frame where we'll look and see
What is
what the numbers
what
are.
exactly is the bet?
The bet
I don't know.
is
So we got to
the bet
define
is
exactly
that-
what that bet is.
that the price that inflation, as a general rule, will be higher, meaningfully higher. I don't need a half a point,
Yeah.
but more than that. And B, that unemployment will go up.
How long?
I'm asking Chuck.
Well, I mean, are we saying by the end of his term or next year,
I-
next week?
We're in our 80s. There's no guarantee that we're going to be alive to collect the bet.
I'll collect yours for you. Don't worry.
I'm game for it, but I need a little bit of time to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
But
the other
from my
thing is
standpoint-
the other thing is
okay.
the tariffs that we'll pay on the products that we buy. That's a tax, and they have to make that tax deductible, and the companies have to keep track of it. If they don't make it tax deductible, it's stealing. It's government stealing from the population, and Trump has no problem stealing money from people.
By the way, interesting on tariffs. Remember during the campaign when he insisted, absolutely said, tariffs are a tax on the country sending the products to you? This is how tariffs work. The country a ship comes over, happens to come over from China, and it comes to Long Beach, and it comes in and it's unloaded and it goes into a warehouse. The person that is supposed to be receiving these goods is sent a letter saying you the company or you the recipient, maybe an individual, owe the U.S. government X number of dollars. When you pay it, we will release the goods. So it's not a tax on China. China, the only thing that happens to China is that they get $100 for what they ship, but the person who's receiving them pays $200. So China may, in fact, have less business. But it is not a tax on China. It is a tax on the person getting the goods, and if it happens to be a business, they have no choice but to increase their price, which is where inflation comes in. Because by definition, inflation is raising the prices.
That's why I was saying that we have to wait for that to happen. It has not happened yet, but it is going to happen.
It's
But
happening
that's
all the
why
time
it
now.
will take some time to really get that effect in place.
Right.
And then we will find out which goods actually are going to be expensive, maybe a lot of them, and maybe then that way what is going to happen is practical side. A lot of us may not buy those things. Maybe we'll live only with this stuff which good old Mr. Ellis we had here a long time ago, but he is gone now. Building 19.
Oh.
and that was the go-to store. But other than that, everything else is only for 1% of the population.
Well, again, because of I did this for a living for a long time. When you build something, you don't have everything all together. You don't dig something out of the ground, smelt it down to a metal, shape it, do the same thing with another piece to make a piece, etc., and eventually
What
make.
do you do?
You buy things from other places, and capitalism, which I think we all believe in more or less, says you go to the best quality for the best price. And we have found that our corporations feel that they can get good quality at a decent price overseas, and then they bring it to us. Or possibly they design the whole thing and have it be built overseas where things are cheaper. So we don't, unless you have what Amazon supposedly was going to try to do, they back down. Unless you have a list that says this is what we are charged by China or some corporation in China for X, and this is what we had to pay the U.S. government, so this is what we're charging you. Unless you were willing to do that, nobody knows why the price of something went up.
Obviously, Bob and Paul voted for Harris,
Yes,
which
I
is
did.
fine.
Yeah, because
how
we
many-
could see the problem coming.
What percentage of the population of Burlington do you believe voted that way? Any idea?
Somewhere around 50%. Burlington's
It's
a
going
relatively conservative town.
Is conservative? Yeah. Yeah, I would say
Do you
that.
think that, Paul, also, that was around 50%?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually 60%.
Oh, okay.
It's actually 58.3%.
Here, Burlington.
No,
I'm proud of
I mean,
Burlington.
Yes,
that
me
still
too.
leaves about almost 40% of the people in Burlington voted for Trump.
Yes.
So
So-
that's why
so,
Burlington's such a good town. But I'm sorry,
that?
go ahead.
What's that?
That's why Burlington is so smart, but go ahead.
I'm just saying that obviously you have a lot of neighbors and friends in town who also voted for Trump. That you either don't communicate with or won't
Oh, I
communicate
do.
with them. I don't know.
I do.
By the way, I have family members who we are extremely different points of view, but I communicate anyway. And we even communicate on issues like what we're talking about tonight. Because we're willing to accept the other person isn't a demon, but has a different viewpoint, and we try to find ways to come
Except-
together
come
and
together, yeah.
find
Find
solutions
a
to the
common
same
point.
problem.
Yeah.
Because in many cases we agree on the problem, we just don't agree how to fix it.
We have. I think we've gone through this particular topic. I hope you don't mind, but I'm wondering, how do you feel about Mr. Trump trying to buy Greenland? I think it's a brilliant idea, even if it can't be done. What
It
is
was a-
wrong with it, if anything?
It belongs to another
It was
country.
a brilliant idea long
know
time ago
that,
as
but you-
well.
How do you feel about
Someone trying to buy America.
Spain trying to buy Florida and North Carolina and South Carolina?
It depends on how the people in North Carolina and South Carolina feel. Do they want to belong and continue to be part of America, or do they want to? And they are the ones who choose.
And
I think Denmark, the people of Denmark, should choose,
and green. Wait a minute.
especially if they are offered significant monies. They're getting nothing for it now,
Pat-
and there's no research going on.
Pat, I'm buying
I would
your
shake his
garden.
head.
Show me how much.
$100. If you
No,
don't-
no, $100 won't do it. You-
Okay, well then I'm going to come
Then
take it.
50.
No, you're not going to
Well,
take
yeah,
it.
that's the
No,
Trump
no,
approach.
no, he hadn't said that.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Take it,
Yep.
literally.
Yes.
I haven't read that.
That's
He's
because
not gonna
you don't
take-
read
he's not gonna
everything.
outright take it. That'd be the last.
No.
I'm sorry, say again?
I think it's a brilliant idea if it's done legally, and if they agree, if Denmark agrees to it. I think it's no one has even come close to anything like that.
No,
To
there
have
was-
not
there
only
was a-
not only the minerals,
No.
but the location in terms of protection for the American, especially the East Coast.
We already
I
have the
forgot
protection because we have
forgot the
people there.
president-
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, one at a
I
time.
forgot the president who actually had said that they wanted Greenland.
I thought it was McKinley.
A few presidents ago. I don't remember the name.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
know.
come to
Yeah,
my
there
mind.
was one, but it was
But-
it didn't
but-
go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
It is my
not a
it is
novel
my
idea.
hope that they do agree. I would love to see America own Greenland. What
My
it could do
understand-
for
my
America is incredible.
And I own your garden.
No, no.
Yeah, I
no,
do.
No.
I've decided.
Wait a minute.
I've
No,
decided.
wait a minute.
No,
I'm saying if they agree, you want to take it by
You
force.
can, you can have his garden.
You
I
can
want his
ask
pool.
me.
Okay, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
All right.
We got it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No. You still have to get my approval.
No, I don't.
Yes, you
because
do.
Trump
No,
said.
No, he hasn't taken anything.
By the way, Trump is ignoring the fact that we have air bases
You
in
can't even-
Greenland, so we have a military presence there. And oh, by the way, we have American companies doing mining in Greenland, so we have an economic thing. It is
Right,
not.
but that doesn't mean that you have the right. You can ask, and that is what he has done.
And-
he has not said,
Oh,
"I'm taking it no matter what you do."
By the way, look up.
He
Look
may
it
have
up.
implied that.
He
He
said.
may have implied that. Well, obviously, the world's not going to stand by and watch anyone do America,
So why do
especially
you
to do
keep-
that.
No,
you know what?
that's-
Why does he
No,
keep
that's-
insisting on it?
No, he's not insisting.
Yes,
he's
he is.
asking.
Why
How can
why
you be
does he
so
keep
stupid?
asking?
stupid? If you don't ask, how can you find out?
Why-
I think it's a brilliant idea.
It's just- No, Pat, one thing is important to recognize. You said that nobody can take over another country. Look what is happening in Ukraine. Russia has moved in, and nobody can stop them. Period.
I'm not following. You mean?
He's likening Ukraine to Trump saying,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, but
we're
Ukraine-
not ruling out
Yeah.
going militarily. If you go along
Yeah.
with it, then we won't.
No,
but
I
if
don't.
you don't,
I don't think. I don't. It would. It would. It would absolutely ruin
Russia
him.
has more of a right to take Ukraine than we do to have
No, we
Greenland.
don't. No.
Yes, they do.
I think Russia has more right to fight over Ukraine. I don't know about taking it than America has for taking it. If America asks and they're willing to pay this much money for it, and Greenland continues to say no, and America takes it, then they're wrong. But if they continue to up the amount of money,
My understanding was that the citizens of Greenland were voting whether or not to leave Denmark.
Yes,
so
they
that
were.
it would
the
make a whole
people of
different
Greenland,
nation.
yes,
and what they were voting on was to be independent.
Independent.
yeah.
Correct.
So the fact that Trump said, "Hey, look, all this real estate out there. Look at all the golf courses I can make."
Oh no,
That's-
no,
it's
no,
more of a
That's full
strategic-
of baloney.
Well,
Strategic.
but the
He's
point
not-
is,
yeah, he's looking
we're
for golf
already
courses.
there. We
Come
already
on.
have alliances. We already have economic stuff. Why take it over? It's
The
the,
reason-
same thing.
I'll tell you
Same
what-
thing as Canada. We have an alliance. We have economic interests.
China-
Do you
Why?
know,
China
do you
and
know
Russia
that?
are
Do you
using
know that
shipping lanes.
Russia, in particular, and I believe China too. I don't know. I can't factually. I'm not sure, but I've heard or I've read they are looking at bases that are just above Greenland. Okay, so I mean they have something in mind if their bases there. Not only natural products that they can take out of the ground. But it is a protective device. It is something that could work. It is something that could make America a huge country. It is something that would give untold amount of value in terms of minerals to America. It is someplace that, I mean, you can think of it almost like
We can
fishing.
buy the minerals.
Fishing. Think about fishing. The kinds of things you can get now and what you can get then if you own the country.
As opposed to doing business with the people who are doing the fishing, what do we have against capitalism?
Nothing. Anyway, I think I never in my life imagined. I think it's a pretty damn good idea, providing they agree. Providing Greenland says, okay, this is how much we want, and if America can come up, whether it's Trump or not, and America can come up with the amount of money, I think it's a damn good deal. Own that land, and from what I understand, the minerals alone over the next 20, 30 years would repay. I think it's no one ever mentioned it.
Actually,
there are a lot of articles written about the oil in Greenland, minerals in Greenland, all other so many things in Greenland. But the question is, a lot of stuff, a lot of that is speculation. Although there are some data, but mostly speculation about the numbers. We don't know the exact numbers.
But Chuck, Amanon, they must have done some research to find out. I mean, if they
It's
believe
limited.
that there are minerals under the ice, I mean,
Because there's a
they
lot
must
of
have.
ice
I mean,
there.
I can't believe that it would be just. And even if it is blind and there's nothing there, it's a huge piece of property, and it's located right above America.
no, actually, it's good ways
Yeah,
away
well,
from
no,
America.
it's not
But that's
that
neither
far.
here
It's
nor
lo-
there.
it's located
I propose
to the
we go
right
after
of
Siberia. I
Canada.
think if we give the
Yes.
right incentives, and look at all this stuff in Siberia,
Oh no, that's no.
and it's even closer to the
No,
Arctic
no.
Circle.
Russia
But
does
we
not even
we can have a
bother itself
railway
with
from
Siberia.
Alaska
Oh,
to
yes, they do.
Siberia.
You only do it. Yeah, they send the permanent criminals there.
They do a lot of mining. There's a lot of
Yes,
business
but
there.
free
have
the
you seen
criminals.
how big it is?